right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Sound Stage here, presented by NLFX. I'm Kyle, here with the one and only Josh Staley. We'll get back to you in just a second, Josh. Just again, want to thank everybody so much for listening. And yeah, let's get right into it. So, Josh Staley, where are you from?
Well, Kyle, first off, I just want to say, that was not nearly epic enough of intro music. I feel like you need an Avengers theme song, Kyle Dietrich.
All right.
Something.
A drop? Do I need to get a drop?
Yeah, maybe Thanos' glove is just does this, and then all of a sudden you appear.
Just the snap, right at the snap.
Oh, that's right. It's a snap. My bad.
No, I like it though.
Yeah. Something like that. But I'm from Columbus, Ohio, Kyle, which you should know from all the packages you've sent me.
That's true. We do have that, but I don't know if everybody else knows.
That's
where
true.
You're from
That's a good point.
And where Josh Staley Productions is and all that kind of stuff. So you guys have Josh Staley Productions, and how many guys do you have working for you now?
So we have 19 between the two companies. So Josh Staley Productions and Turn Up Columbus, which is our budget brand, kind of our feeder system into Josh Staley Productions. So 19 between the two right now.
That's a lot. And does that
it is
just DJs, or is that assistants, photo booth attendant, all that kind of stuff?
That's just DJs. So
okay.
Oh man, I should have this number, but I don't. I think we're probably close to 28 with support staff, 29, somewhere in there.
That's awesome.
Probably more. I'm probably underselling, but yeah.
That's really cool. The fact that you're able to do that and get all those people, paying their bills and all that kind of stuff. That's awesome that you guys do that.
I have a fantastic group of people that help me manage a team that big. It is not me. If it was me, we would not have a team that big.
Yeah, no. It is all about finding those other people who can help you and can be awesome for you. So totally get that. So Josh, how long have you been DJing?
So almost 10 years.
Almost 10.
So 10 years in January is when I started.
Okay.
But really DJing, actually learning to mix, probably about 7 years. Okay. I was the Spotify guy when I first started.
Well, nobody's perfect. That's all right.
I know.
So
speaking of Spotify, you can hear this podcast on Spotify, as you can see right below my face. Check it out.
That is awesome. I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what got you into it? What brought you into DJing? Was it just fascination with the industry, music? What is it?
Yeah. So guitar player since I was 14.
Okay.
Parents forced me to take piano lessons before that. And so I've always loved music. And once I hit the guitar, my passion for music took off, and did that in college, studied guitar, and I was out of college, and I'd found ways to make money with music. I had a little recording studio that I was producing a radio show out of. I was playing some gigs on the side. I was working at a church, playing music there, and just not making a ton of money. My wife and I wanted to travel. We wanted to build investments throughout our life, and we had those plans, but I was how are we going to make this work with the money that we have? And I just couldn't figure it out until my wedding in 2013, when we hired a DJ. And first off, I didn't really even know that you hire DJs for wedding. I figured that out in 2013.
Okay.
My wife was like, hey, why don't you book the DJ? Music. And I'm like, yeah, but I've never hired a DJ, but all right, we'll do it. So did some Google research and found a guy that seemed legit. Day of the wedding, though, this guy was an absolute disaster. Called me 5 minutes before the ceremony was starting and was like, hey man, I'm going to be late. I'm not feeling good. And I was like, okay, cool. So you're sending a backup? And he's like, no, I don't really have one. And I was like, well, what are you going to drop off your equipment? No. Well, what are we supposed to do? Cause you're it.
Yeah.
And he finally agreed to come and show up. He was fine because he was chasing us all over the golf course, telling us you got to come in now. Your pictures aren't important. Just kind of be in that presence. We're newly, we've never been married before. We have no idea if we're behind our timeline or whatever. And the way he's explaining it doesn't make me want to follow him. Long story short, we get into the reception. He brings us in an entrance that he has blocked off with his speakers. And so my wife actually trips over one of the tripods, walking in, because there's really no other way to walk in. And he didn't have the music we asked for prepped, just an overall, all the no-nos. I usually don't go into detail on this, but since it's the NLFX podcast, let's do it. All the announcements he made, were just confusing. Like the crowd had no idea what he was trying to say. I took the mic from him a few times just trying to help and was like, I think what he's saying is, and tried to re-explain it because it was just so confusing. And then kind of the coup de grace, right? We were both of us raised in conservative households, and like you don't live together before marriage. And if you do, you don't tell anybody that you're living together before marriage, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And the shoe game was all the rage then. And so I've got pastors in the room. I've got my parents in the room, grandparents in the room. We wrote the questions just because we didn't want to take any chances that a weird question might pop out. He decided to ignore the questions that we wrote. And he asked us 3 questions in on the shoe game, who's better in bed? And if you the room, just the air just goes whoosh, right out of the room. Right. And my mom, I hear her off to the side go, well, if they haven't been, how would they know? And I was just like, oh gosh,
wow,
just awkward. You know what I mean? Just
so
awkward.
I think I've lost 7 or 8 pounds just sweating from hearing what is going on at your wedding.
Right.
I can't imagine what it was to live through.
Right.
Wow.
We're both positive people, and we'd never been married before, so we just assumed okay, this is normal. This is what happens. And for you DJs out there who have been doing it a while, but you're not really investing in getting better. You're not investing in your craft, but you're I'm still getting 5-star reviews. Let me be the one to tell you that if you show up and don't noticeably mess up anything on a wedding day, you're probably going to get a 5-star review because it's the best day of their life and they're just lumping you in with all the positive emotions. But if they're not writing you a book on what you specifically did to make their day better, you need to up your game. So little pro tip there. But yeah, so from that, I had some friends who were getting married that next year. And I just told them flat out, I was like, listen, I feel like I could do this better. Could I DJ your wedding? Because I know how much we paid our DJ. And I know how much I'm making playing guitar. And I'm like, I could make more DJing. So, talked to them about it, made sure they were cool with it. And they were like, yeah, free DJ sounds great. And I was like, I didn't say free, but we'll roll with it.
I love how they just assume that.
Yeah. Friends, right? Yeah, we all deal with it.
100%.
Yeah. So did their wedding. Well, actually, this is the longer version of the story. Sorry. But
it's okay.
My wife's like, you're going to do their wedding? I was like, yeah. She's like, that's cool. Just don't buy any gear or anything. We could rent it. We could. So, being the smart new husband I am, I'm like, cool. And I went out and bought gear and it all gets shipped to the house. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, babe, I'll figure out a way to pay for it. Don't worry about it. So she's like, you better. And so I put myself out on Thumbtack and just started getting booked, kind of sight unseen. I didn't have a website. I didn't really have reviews, but brides were like, he's $300. What could go wrong? And
take a chance.
Right. So started there and those weddings went really well. Started getting referrals off those weddings. And I mean, these are the type of weddings, right? These are taking place in the American Legion halls and somebody's backyard that's really not meant for a wedding. And
we all start there.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. And then every 15 minutes, the dance floor's clearing because everyone's going outside to smoke, that kind of.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah. So those were good fun days, and the equipment was terrible, but it worked. It did the job. And then I started getting requests for dates that I was already booked on. And so I reached out to some buddies of mine from college and was like, hey, I'm making all this money DJing weddings. You guys want to do it too? And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And the Multi app was born, and we've just grown and improved since then. So that was a super long answer to your question, but did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, it's really nice. And I think I have a slightly different take as far as, so it just made me think of my wedding.
Yeah.
So when we got married, we also got married in 2013. So high five.
Oh, no way. Yeah, let's go.
What's your date?
10 years. The 21st of September. Do you remember?
See, we were the 27th of October, so we're very close.
Yeah, we need to find you a song. All right. So funny story. I actually didn't realize that we got married on the date of the Earth, Wind, and Fire song until they played it at the wedding, and I was like, "Oh my gosh,
the 20th day.
Yeah, this is it." Yeah, I got excited. Okay, yes, tell us about. Awesome. I want to hear about your wedding, Kyle.
No, that's okay. I kind of had the same thing. I had seen so many horror stories and all that kind of stuff, and I had been DJing people's weddings. I wasn't doing it full time.
Yeah,
I was doing kind of the thing that you were doing. I do it for a couple $100 for a friend here and there. Mm-hmm. But of course, I also had equipment that I used 4 times a year, maybe. And so I'd always go and do them for him. And I was just like, you know what? I don't want to pay somebody to do this and all this other kind of stuff. So we set up all my stuff
Oh
at our
wow.
wedding and did the whole thing. I didn't actually DJ. I had a friend of a cousin of mine who used to come and help me all the time.
Okay.
And so he kind of knew how things would go, how things would do, how to make decent announcements, all that kind of stuff. So he just did that. And so we just said, hey, you can drink for free that night. And he was like,
dope.
okay. And so we went super cheap because we were, young and poor and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So,
I get it.
we did what we had to do. So,
I think we did our whole wedding. I think her dad gave us a budget of $10,000, which in 2013
Yeah.
was a little bit more money than it is now, but still not
yeah.
what you really
I
need
think
to do a wedding.
I think our thing total was like 8,900 or something.
Yeah.
And we fed 425 people.
Whoa.
Well, I have a giant family. So my mom is one of 10
Okay.
and my stepdad is one of 17.
Oh my gosh.
So just family, we had probably 300 people
17.
there.
Were those all the, like, your stepdad, like, were those
Oh yeah,
all kids
all
from
their
the
brothers,
same marriage?
all the
or
brothers,
all across?
sisters, all the same. Yeah,
Like multiple women in that 17 or like 17 from the same?
2 people.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah.
That's crazy.
And I know your next thought: Catholic and or farmers.
Okay.
Lived in town, were Methodist. So not really the stereotypical giant family.
7.
But-
What kind of vehicle did you guys drive?
I don't know what they drove. I met him when I was 3.5 or 4 years old. No,
Okay.
I would have been 5. So yeah, 1988, I think my mom and him started dating.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
Jeez.
it was a lot. Yeah, his
I bet the
oldest
family
sibling is
reunions are
like
pretty fun though.
19 years older than he is. Something like
Okay.
that.
I bet family reunions are pretty good though.
You have to rent out gyms.
Yeah.
To bring everybody together. But it's also like there's definitely somebody to do something with.
Right,
So
yeah.
there's always lots of stuff to catch up on.
I was gonna
and
say you
all
guys
that
could play touch, flag football. You guys could.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. Full 11 on 11, no problem.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
No, but that's awesome. So, like getting it back to DJing, so you've been doing it since 2013, 2014.
Yeah. 2015
Yeah.
is my official start date. I
Official,
think.
sure.
Yeah.
What is it now in 2024 that keeps you coming back every week? What is it that keeps you engaged? What is it about? Is it the preparation? Is it the actual performances? Is it the couples? What is it?
Yeah. I mean, the look on, well, actually, the emotion that comes from a bride and groom at the end of the night is so rewarding for me. Just on, because it's kind of that thing I didn't have. At the end of our reception, I was really happy to be married. I was pumped, that we'd had a great day with friends and family, but I wasn't proud of what we put on, like as far as the reception, and getting to see couples who are so proud and like their friends can't stop talking about how cool their wedding was. That's one thing none of my friends said to me at the end of my wedding was, your wedding was so cool. Like, I want my wedding to be just like that. Never said that to me. And I understand why. I get it. But like giving that to others, that they can start their marriage off knowing that they kicked some ass like that night, and that party is something their friends are going to now aspire to. Yeah. I think that's something really cool. And it also, I think it puts confidence into what, like, I think there's a lot of people who are like, I don't want to spend, you can have a wedding or you can buy a house, like put a house payment down. And while I get the practicality of that, I think there is something so special about starting your lives together off with a bang. And you're like, together, we put together this night that was incredible, was amazing. I think there's confidence in that.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool answer, and that's not a way that I had thought about it before. But I think it kind of comes back to, and maybe this happens for you too, when you get that person who was a guest at a wedding, and they contact you a year later, 2 years later, hey, you did Sally's wedding back in 2018, and that thing was so much fun. I have to have you.
Yeah.
Like, I like that sort of thing, that because you're just like, oh yeah, this goes beyond just playing music and putting up pretty lights and doing all that kind of thing. Like you said, it's a production and it's a performance.
Yeah.
And I think, being able to do that as your job is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and like side reasons, I love playing with audio gear, and so this gives me an excuse to just like create amazing sounding sounds. I know, right? Yeah. By the way, NLFX sells audio gear, so if you need
Yes.
some, reach out to Kyle. He will feed your addiction. Yeah,
Absolutely.
and like love that part of it, and just the gear, the equipment, the challenge. Like every week's different. There's a new challenge every week, big or small, that like we have to overcome, and that's awesome. And the money's great.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm being honest, like the money is great. Like I'm at a $5,000 price point right now, and couples are paying it, and that's worth it for me.
Yeah.
And it's more expensive now because like I'm taking time away from my family, from my kids on weekends, and I'm trying to minimize that. I'm trying to get out of that more and do less weddings as I get older, as the years go on, so I can spend more time with them as they're getting older.
Yeah.
And I know that struggle. Like that's I want to be at a place where I can still be at some sporting events. And
Yeah.
I also, I feel like right now, Kyle, like I'm kind of at the peak of where I'm going to be. Like, as we age, we're always getting better, obviously. Like Mike Walter's still out there crushing it.
Oh, killing it.
And kudos to Mike. I think right now, with where I am physically, where I am mentally, where I am skill wise, that trinity is coming together at my events. And like, I just see, the things, without bragging, like I'm honestly impressed by it, like genuinely impressed with some of the mixes that I'm able to pull off, just thinking up stuff in the moment. And then also just ways I'm able to craft their must playlists together. And then, just kind of like left turns I'm able to take as an MC, just because I'm at that point where I'm still mentally sharp, I'm still physically sharp, and I'm doing this every weekend. And I don't know that I ever want to get to a place, honestly, where like I see one of those things start to diminish, whether that's physically, mentally, or skills wise, and I just kind of accept it as aging. Like I don't really ever want to be there. I want to go out on top. I want to be Michael Jordan and just be like, cool, I'm out, and then just run the company, and let other guys shine and build into other guys more so than I'm doing now.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying on that. I think the hard part with that is because of the work ethic that I know that I think you have, that I feel like I have, a lot of the other people that we know in the industry have, you never stop working on it.
Yeah.
And so you are really ever improving, even if it's just little things here and there. And I tell you, I don't know that, especially for you, 25 years before that really starts to go down, unless, obviously something happens or all the things, which obviously we hope not. But like, I think that's another really cool thing about this lane that we're in. You can really be there for a long time. And as long as you continue to improve and don't just sit around, oh yeah, no, I'm really good, I got this. As long as you're always looking to do more and all that kind of stuff, I think you can do it for a long time. Again, maybe that's not your thing, and in 15 years you just want to run the company and do that, which is totally fine.
It's becoming more and more tempting. Like there's just so many more like intricacies now that we're getting bigger, and like,
oh yeah,
if I'm able to put my full focus there, it's just becoming more and more attractive to me. And then again, like every business owner says this, like when you're not booked on weddings, you're the ultimate backup. Like I know that I can take a wedding and go crush it last minute if I need to, if something comes up. So like all that's playing around in my head. And this is also Josh Staley at 34. We all gain wisdom as we get older. I may look back at this in 10 years and be like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
But this is where I'm at right now.
Walk away from this, or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm definitely not a lifer. Like, I mean, if you talk to Todd Powers, like he gets emotional about almost every wedding he does, and just like absolutely loves it. Like knows it intimately. I'm definitely more passionate about the business side of things. I love my couples. I love working with them. I do get excited about it, but like, I also forget a lot of weddings after they happen. So like Todd can tell you every one he's done,
Yeah. So I have that same thing, and I feel bad about it, but I also feel like it's kind of part of what we have to do as business people. once your wedding is done, I have 10 other weddings that I got to worry about. I
Yep.
can't sit back and reminisce about yours. Now, pull up a video, pull up your. I'm really weird and I can like recall, oh man, I remember this wedding that I did. It was going a lot like this. What was that set I played? And I can say, oh yeah, that was June of 2021. I can go back and I can pull up an old playlist and all that kind of stuff. I don't know why I know that,
That's awesome though.
but I do. And then I can remember, oh yeah, this wedding went like that. I don't know if I could tell you who it was. I can tell you what the venue was. I could tell you what the crowd was like. But I'm that same one where it's just, okay, that one's done. I have too much other stuff to worry about. I got to kind of forget and then keep going forward. And I don't think it's that we don't care. I think it's that we're at a place that, you know what? I have stuff going on. I don't have mental capacity to keep all that now.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm with you. I think that's why notes apps are so cool, and the reason like I don't use paper, because I can't tell you how many times I've been at a wedding and like a past couple is there or several past couples are there, and I'm able just to real quick pull up their first dance songs and work those into the night somewhere, and like I don't announce it, don't make a big deal about it, but they know, and they know that I remembered that. I may
And
not remember
yeah,
their names or they got married, but I can pull them up real quick and get their first dance song. So
yeah, no, which is awesome. That's a really cool thing. So as we're going as we're reminiscing and all that sort of thing here, this is something that I've been asking everybody too is, do you have a favorite memory? Like going back, thinking about a wedding or an event or something that you did, just that a moment that really sticks out to you that, wow, I can't believe that happened. I was so excited to be a part of that. What about like things like that?
So, one of my favorite memories happened pretty early on. I'd say maybe year 3,
Okay.
and I'm just learning to mix at this point. So, like, really good at slamming songs into each other in the right points. And I just remember we are downtown Columbus. There's a venue called North Bank Park, and it's right on the Scioto River, which goes through the middle of the city. So you got all the buildings in the back with the river behind, and North Bank Park just sits right on that. So like everything, the city is basically your backdrop at this venue. Really cool. And it was the first night that we had about 300 guests. Most of those guests stayed and danced from all ages. And that was the first time that I instinctively played a multi-generational dance floor. Like, would go to hip hop, but then circle back to an oldie that made sense with the hip hop, and like kind of kept keeping everybody on the dance floor that way. And I remember grandma was up, somebody got her up on this like pillar, kind of like wall thing that was overlooking the river. And she's standing up dancing next to me, 70-year-old woman just up there like getting down. And like, I think I was playing Get Down on It by Kool and the Gang at the time. And just to see that many people dancing together, loving each other, that was probably one of the coolest experiences. And that's when I realized like the power we have as DJs and the power that I have to create this moment with music, with my emceeing. And that's when I decided like I want to get way better at this so I can create this at every wedding I go to.
Yeah.
And that's been the pursuit ever since.
That's a really cool one. Like your realization that you could read a crowd and keep them musically engaged, which, obviously is giant for us in weddings, because at most weddings, at least ones that I do around here, you have the 70-year-old down to the 7-year-old. You have them from 12 different walks of life and all that kind of stuff. And, being able to keep them engaged the whole time is huge for us. So,
yeah. And if I could share one more, just because it just popped in my head. There was a wedding that happened probably 2 years ago now, and the way it was just really sweet couple. Just she was so emotionally invested in her family. Dad got a little tipsy during the reception before his toast, and I went up there and coached him with the microphone. He couldn't pay attention to save his life, and so I asked her. I was like, "Do you still want him to do the toast?" And she's like, "Yeah, let's have him do it." He ended up rambling on the microphone, but like being like this far away from it, talking like this quiet. And like no matter how much I boosted him, and like I'm pretty good at EQing in a room, and I just couldn't turn it up anymore. Like we were just maxed.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't hold the mic up, he was holding it down here. And so about 5 minutes in, people were also tipsy in the room, kind of started to talk. And I got on the mic a couple times and just said, "Hey guys, Father of the Bride's still speaking. Let's keep our conversations down. Go ahead, sir. Thank you so much." She was so offended that people were talking during her dad's speech, even though it was pretty incoherent, hard to follow. And like all of us sitting in the room would have understood why people got bored and stopped paying attention.
Yeah.
She didn't understand that. So she actually was like in tears down in the office, like left the room in tears, was crying down the stairs. And so there was a planner. So I wasn't able to just like take control and do my thing, but like I had to work through the channels. But eventually we got to the point where we could go ahead and start the dance floor, even though she wasn't in there. And so I pulled the bridal party together and I said, listen, here's the situation. The bride is pretty upset in another room. Let's keep that between us. But right now, like we want to get this party going for them. So here's how we're going to do this. And I walked through how we were going to start the dance floor with them. And they're like, let's do it. I was like, hands in. And like, we did the whole like team thing and went back to the booth, kicked off the dance floor. Everybody came out. Everybody was having a great time. And when they walked back into the room, which was probably like 45 minutes later, that dance floor was packed and everybody cheered for them as soon as they walked back in the room. And it was just like, there's not really a better way for them to have re-entered that room. And that was a special moment for me, just that we were able to get that going. And I couldn't have done it alone. Like that was all the vendors, that was the bridal party being on board. Like it just, all the pieces were in place and it worked out and they were so happy at the end of the night.
It does get hard, like, cause it's emotional days and all that kind of stuff. And you never know what baggage other people have and all that.
Right.
So yeah, it's hard to manage through there, but it sounds like you did a heck of a job. So nice work on that.
Well, again, it wasn't just me, and that's why I think we as DJs, I think sometimes we give ourselves a little bit of a pass and we're like, this really isn't my fault. Like I didn't create the situation. I'm also working with a planner and she's not telling me to go ahead and start the dance floor. Like, in fact, she's saying, no, let's not, because the bride and groom aren't in the room. And I could have just stopped there and now it's her fault. But instead, like working through the right channels and like not taking no for an answer. Even though I'm kind of putting like our relationship, with the planner on the line, like just, hey, I really think it'd be a good idea to start the dance floor. Can we start the dance floor? Please, can we start the dance floor? I even had to go kind of around her a little bit. I'm like, let's go talk to the couple together. And that's when I got go ahead and start the dance floor. But again, I don't know how the wedding, I feel like everybody would have just left if we didn't do that.
Yeah. And I think that's where the hard part comes in is you were able to keep it where everybody was still there and they were engaged in what was going on and not just, oh, the bride left, this is really bad, let's just go and not worry about it. Mm-hmm. So I think that was a really good thing for you too. So that sounded really cool. All right, now we're going to get down to some nitty gritty. Got a couple of personal questions for you.
Okay.
I know this is hard
My
for a
social
lot
security
of DJs
number
to talk
is...
about. Yeah, that kind of stuff. What kind of speakers do you use?
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Wow. Kyle, I don't know if I can answer this because
it's really personal.
Up. Yeah.
I know. It's right to the core.
No. So I have two main systems that I use. Okay. For most weddings, it's a pair of Maui 44s, Gen 2s, and then which I bought from Ben at NLFX.
White or black?
White. All white.
Okay.
Always white.
Yeah.
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 And then for bigger weddings, I have a setup of DOS 21-inch subs, and they're two white Vantech tops, and I can go up to 4 tops if I need to, but I haven't done that for a wedding yet.
Yeah, that would be a lot for a wedding.
Yeah.
But you never know. If
I love
if
those
you ever
subs,
get one
though.
with my family, 700 people.
Right. Yeah. And you just never know. And that's, where I'm at right now. I want to be prepared for things I don't expect.
Yeah. I was able to actually, a couple days ago, actually. So I had some other stuff that I wasn't using anymore. You listen to them. My RCF 808s and 515s.
Tops, man.
Yeah, they're really good tops. And then I had a set of RCF Evox 12s. Well, I was trying to sell the 808s and 515s just because I didn't use them. It wasn't because I didn't like them. I didn't want them. I just didn't use them, and I was like, they're just taking up space, and I just don't need them. So I ended up finding a guy who was very interested in them, but he didn't have money, which makes it a lot harder.
Yeah.
But he had a much bigger system that he
Okay.
was kind of trying to get rid of also. So I now have a set of 8004 subs
Okay.
and some NX945 tops that they just came out with like
Wow.
8 months ago.
One of my guys would totally buy those off you if you wanted to sell them. Just FYI.
Well, I haven't even used them yet. I haven't even like really listened to them yet because I just got them and he happened to be coming through and he had them with him and he's just like, I mean, would you be interested in a trade?
That seems like a Kyle Dietrich system right there. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie. Like,
Well, and I'm starting to do more like high school proms and homecomings and all that. So I was using the 515s and the 808s with 4 subs and the whole thing like that. But these 8004s, that'll take it up to a whole different level.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
yep. Yeah, man. There's nothing like having too much sub. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And like knowing you could get a lot bigger. I think Tony Fernandez, I think I'm saying his name right, out of Virginia, he said at the last Harvest of Sound conference, he's like, I would way rather have too much sound and turn down my system than not have enough. And I'm like,
Yeah.
amen, brother, preach.
But it's true. Because the other thing is sometimes you need to be able to go for it. Like if you have a raging party and you do get that wedding that there's 250 people there and 250 people are on the dance floor. Now, we as DJs like to think that that happens every single time, but it doesn't. But when it does, man, it's nice to have a little bit of headroom and be able to just, okay, well, let's go.
Yep.
So it'll
I
be
actually
a lot
had
of fun to use
a
that
guy for the
sometimes.
first time this last week come up to me and go, hey, can you turn it up a little bit? And I literally looked at him and I was like, you mean turn it down? And he goes, no, can you turn it up? And I was like, okay. Like, I don't know what to do in this situation. I've never had this question before. Yeah.
You're like, are you trying to start something?
Yeah.
We're going to throw hands here?
It's just like, I was like, surely he means turn down. He's old. And I was just, yeah, that's what I get
Crank
for
it up.
judging people.
No, that's awesome. What other audio stuff do you use? Like, are you a turntables controller? Are you external mixer? All that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Everything
Yeah, I can
audio.
walk you through my rig real quick.
Yeah.
So I used the Rain 12s with a 70 A-track, which that was like the best mixer they have made. Like the A-track is just, it's
I've
amazing.
wondered. I've thought about doing a rain setup, and I was between that and a 72, so I wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
the 72 is great, but like the screen and the features that are in the screen are just a little bit. They're
think
more
it's a
than I
little
want to
gimmicky?
learn how to do with muscle memory.
Sure.
Whereas the A-track, everything's in front of you. All your effects are. It's sitting next to me. One of them is sitting next to me right here. So like I'm touching it, but like
Okay.
all of the effects and stuff are up at the top. You got the battle paddles. Everything's just really well laid out, and it's very easy to do what you want to do with it. So like I've just been in love with that mixer. I have not seen anything come out in recent times that make me want to jump up to it. Right now it's all about the A-Track 70. And then the 12s are just, mine have been really rock solid. I know some people have had some issues with like them randomly speeding up and random things like that, but like mine have been rock solid.
Do you have the Mark IIs or just the regular ones?
The Mark IIs, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did have the regular ones, sold them, and then bought the Mark IIs when those came out.
Sure.
Just because like there is times when I actually use the Q mode on them. And because there's a little transition I do where I'm like in Dancing Queen and it has like a drum loop out and I want to start the piano line from Oh What a Night from Venky Valley right there. And I can't, so I have to take it out with stems to start to blend it in. And then I have to add it back in with the stems and hit the cue point at the right spot to get it in. And so I'm on the Rain 12 Mark II up here hitting the cue point and then I'm hitting the stems at the same time on the A-Track. So that's my setup there. And then I run from that into a Yamaha TF rack. The reason I love that mixer, the preamps sound great. And the preamps, that's the other thing. Rain preamps sound way better than Pioneer. So like if you really want to take your music sound, like if you have high quality files and you want those files to really shine through your system, I think Rain does a better job of that than Pioneer does.
Okay.
And then when you go into the TF rack, the preamps and that are great. And what's nice is it's a rack mixer and it has a little touch screen on the front. So like if my iPad becomes disconnected, because like that's the whole point of a digital mixer, right? Is I can go out into the room, I can hear out sounds, I can make adjustments on my iPad. But sometimes that iPad disconnects at the worst possible second. And that, having that screen as a backup that I can lean down and mute or unmute a mic down there, it's hardwired in. You know what I mean? There's no issues. It's great.
Yeah, that's one thing I really like about I have a QSC Touch Mix.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing that I like is I have the ability to do whichever one I need to. I generally always have my iPad sitting right next to me and it works, but
Yeah.
I can still, if I need to, it's reach down and go. So
Yeah, I mean that's the only way to do it. Like I love the stuff that Midas is putting out, that Behringer. Like I mean the form of that is great, but if for some reason you can't get in with your iPad, you're screwed.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just not a chance I'm willing to take. And I know there's a way to like control it via plugging in Ethernet to your computer. I'm not willing to put that much time into figuring that out. So
Sure.
TF Rack works for me. And then we talked about speakers. I'm using Shure ULXD mics. The SLXD line is fantastic. Love those. All my guys use those, and I probably should be using those. I just got a little crazy and got a good deal on some ULXDs, and so I've been rocking with those. My friend Jonathan, though, he makes fun of me, and he's like, dude, that is so overkill for what you're doing. I'm like, I know. And then a diversity fin, I think, is so important for DJs these days. Like, if we don't want cutouts, we got to have some kind of diversity fin. I love RFNU. I have not had any cutouts since I added those to my booth. They're about $500, and just being able to know that antenna is there, it's picking everything up. It puts a big giant ball of signal collection out into the room. Like, I've had no issues with it. And if I think there's been a couple times where I've started to hear some cutouts, and all I did was like literally pop the wheels on my Toadmatic and like move it just like 2 feet closer, and we were good. You know what I mean? Which is great to have everything on wheels and be able to do that. But I've had no issues since I got that. And then probably one of the biggest changes in the last year has been the addition of in-ears over traditional headphones. And I'm a guy that loves traditional headphones. I have white headphones that are amazing, but as you know, like as you're getting older, like, those are my jam right there. And I still keep them in my booth. Like if a Brad comes back behind to mix and like do some cool stuff or pictures, like I have those ready to go for her. But the nice thing now is they're not all sweaty because I wasn't using them. In-ears are the way to go. If you haven't checked out the Chinese hi-fi market, there's so many options out there. I currently use the 7 Hertz 7HZ Timeless. They're a planar magnet in-ear, and so it's a new technology where a magnet is literally floating in there, and it can create this really high quality sound, like something you'd normally pay like $2,000 for at a $200 price point. And they're insane, and they're really they're really sleek. They look great. You get a cable. You can get cables in any color to match whatever outfit you're wearing. It starts to become kind of an obsession. Like basically to me, it's like collecting watches at this point. Like I have a case next to my bed with all my in-ears in it, and I'm like, I'm taking these today.
Yeah, I got on the Heurology bandwagon about a year and a half ago.
Wait, what is this? I don't know about Heurology.
Watches.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I thought it was like some technology your watch tells you like the decibels in the room or like.
No, so like I have this one, and sitting over here I have 1, 2, 3. I have 12 other watches over there.
Yep. And that's what I told my wife. I'm
and
like,
that doesn't
honey,
count my Apple Watch. I have that too.
Yeah. Right. And I just like, listen, babe, like I don't really collect anything other than like bourbon. Okay. Is it okay if I like spend some money on like headphones? Cause it's kind of my thing, like wireless and wired. Like I want to try all of them.
Sure.
And so she was like, okay, if that's your thing, that's your thing. I'm like, sweet, done.
Hey, it could be worse things,
Right.
You don't collect cars and
right. It could be a lot more expensive. Yeah.
It could be for sure. Yeah,
I definitely don't have a massive guitar collection either,
I feel like that's a little facetious.
Yeah.
But those are all tame compared to watches. Like once you get into like, so there's quartz and then there's automatics and jump dates and also very easily you can spend $2,000 to $4,000 on a watch, and that's not expensive.
Yeah.
There's watches out there that are literally millions of dollars for a watch.
I'm waiting for them to like create retro cell phones that people like start collecting, and like that's the trend. Excuse me. Like walk around with your old Razor, and like that's what you're using today.
Bring back my first cell phone was the Nokia 5165.
Yeah.
Yep, that thing was a tank.
I'm just waiting though, because like the kids with clothing right now, right? They're in the 90s when cell phones really started to become a thing.
Yeah.
So like maybe that's the next trend is like,
Are they
oh,
going to
what
come
retro
back?
cell phone are you rocking today? Yeah.
Yeah, no, for
Unplug,
sure.
man. This can't even text. Yeah.
I'm so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got into all of your audio stuff. What about lighting? What kind of a
Lighting.
lighting guy are you?
I am big in the Chave world right now. I have the Freedom. Help me with this, Kyle. Freedom, Maverick,
Oh,
the
Mavericks.
S's, the
oh,
Storm
for
S.
moving heads.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's whatever their like it has
H1
gobos in it. It's not a
Yeah.
spot or a I think it's maybe it's technically a wash. I don't know.
is it a hybrid?
I don't know. I'm bad at this. I'm an audio guy, true and true. So when we get to lights, I get way less knowledgeable on what
okay.
I'm saying. But yeah, it's their upper level pro line. And like those lights are so great. And I carry on 2 of them. They're heavy as all get out, but like, you know, I put them up on truss. And actually one of the coolest things that I bought from you guys in the recent future was, or recent past, was the moving bases from Global Truss,
Oh,
that have the wheels on them. And so I just have I have a 4-foot totem piece that always stays hooked up to that, and it just rolls back in my van. And then I have the 2-foot piece that we add on at the event. So the scrim and everything stays on the totem, rolls into my van. You know, we scrunch it up so it's up off the ground. It's not getting dusty. And then we just add the 2-foot section at the event, put the light on it. Ben made me like 20-foot power cables that go down, and those lights have built-in WDMX protocol, which is awesome because so do the Wellstick 180s, which are my other lights. And so right away, as soon as I turn everything on, it's just connected. Yeah, I don't have to worry about wireless dongles. I have 1 transmitter still in my booth for my uplights, and I've been really tempted to move over to Chave uplights just because of the WDMX. I got to find the series that has it in there. I haven't done any research on this yet, but I'm tempted.
well, hey,
and Kyle's like,
I know
a
somebody
guy.
can get you a quote.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. So I've been tempted on that, but yeah, just having that WDMX, I flip it on, everything's connected. I don't have to worry about batteries, dongles, like any of that.
It's way easier.
So great. So great. And then I also have I have a bigger lighting setup that I don't take out a ton, but I have 2 Pisces, like the little like lights that have the moving LED around the side of it. And then it does it kind of has the old school light look, like the halogen look, is what it looks like. It kind of mimics.
Okay.
So I have those, and those also have the WDMX in it. So when I do the bigger lighting setup, like those are already ready to go, hooked up. Sound Switch is what I'm running everything off of. Still a big fan of Sound Switch. They do such a great job, and like every update, it just gets better. And then Brian Smith's like templates that you can buy for the well sticks, and like start from that base template and then build your show around that. So then your auto loops are already doing really cool things with your tube lights.
Yeah, I might have to talk to you about that because I've bought everything for Sound Switch, but I just haven't dove into it and started building stuff and all that. So
The hardest part's the beginning.
I might have to borrow some of your time.
Yeah. Well, I'd refer you straight to Brian. Like he's way better at it than me. And like he'll actually, I don't know if he still does this, but he'll build out your show based on the lights you're using. So you just tell him like, I'm using this, and he'll program everything in for you and then show you how to use it.
Well, okay.
But I will say, as somebody who adopted Sound Switch from the beginning, like I'm a guy with a lifetime license just because I bought, early on. It is simpler than you think to set up. Like once you understand, because the cool thing about Sound Switch is it looks like an audio digital workstation. Like it looks like Logic, it looks like GarageBand. So it's not like a traditional lighting software, which I look at and go, what is happening? I have no idea, but like I can kind of see what's going on in Sound Switch. And once you get your fixtures in there, once you get everything set up, like, I mean, you're looking at probably a 10-hour investment to get it going. But once you get it up and running, it just goes. It just flows.
Which is nice. And
yeah,
I don't switch up stuff very often. So,
right.
And I just have a couple of moving heads that I very rarely ever use just because I mean, I've said this in the last 2, I think. I use Wash FX hexes, and I just bathe the room in color, and that's what I do. Just because I think wash lights just kind of don't ever look bad. So I have a hard time getting rid of them. So going through here, if you're thinking about all the kind of stuff that you have, is there something that you don't currently have that you really want, whether it be a light, a different speaker, a different mixer, controller, anything like that?
Yeah. It's really nichey though.
Okay.
So Void Acoustics makes their Tri Motion, which looks like three megaphones put together. It's
Okay.
a speaker. Whoa, come back, baby. Hey, I'm down here. Hey, woohoo. There we go. Nope. Hey, what's up? So I'm gonna turn tracking off. Yeah. So it looks like three air horns put together, and it just has a really awesome pattern. It's like a 60-degree dispersion, which means they can sit closer to your booth. But it's a passive speaker, and I got to hear them at Infocom out in Vegas a couple months ago, and I was blown away. Like they can do 137 dB. Like it's just that they're passive, and I have to figure out like they have a sub that will amplify them, but the sub doesn't look as cool as the tops.
Okay.
And so I'm trying to figure out. I'm kind of waiting to see what they come out with, but like those things are like 20 grand a piece, and
Ooh.
but like for high end weddings, they are the ultimate speaker. Like they look so freaking cool.
I'll have
So-
to definitely look those up.
Yeah, definitely do. They make some just really beautiful designs, and like again, when we heard them in Vegas, I was like, okay, don't suck, don't suck, don't suck, and they were amazing. So big fan of that line. They're the guy who designs them though. They don't tell him how much they sell them for, so he just designs them because he doesn't want any compromise in the design, and then they figure out how much they have to sell them for on the back end.
To make
the nice
money,
thing
yeah.
is there is a good used market out there, so because they
Okay.
normally put them in clubs. So you can get them like, if the install didn't go right or they decide to go a different direction on the install, like they'll clearance them out basically and you can buy them. There's a lot of them available right now. They're just overseas and kind of hard to get here.
And
I haven't
still-
done any research on this at all, as you can tell.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
even used, I would assume that they're still not what you'd consider cheap.
No.
Yeah.
Like still like $8,000 a speaker per
Yeah.
side. Yeah. And that's not
I was
even
gonna
your
say if they're
subs.
down to 10 even. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to remember, Josh, when did we actually, was it 2021 Midwest that we officially met?
In my
that
brain,
right?
it was 2019, but I could be so wrong on that.
Well, I mean, maybe. I don't think it was, but I think it was 2021 Midwest. And
Because did you know me when we were doing the stay in your house parties during COVID? Okay, then yeah, it was probably 21.
yeah. Yeah, that's when I started actually like going to conferences, and not that I wasn't taking it seriously before, but I was like, you know what? I've basically learned as much as I can watching YouTube videos, watching, all this other kind of stuff. I need to actually go out and talk to people who are way better at this than I am.
Yeah.
And so that's when I think when we met. And one of the things that I think I remember the most is when we were in Chris Hintz's suite
Yeah.
at the Hyatt Regency, and that was kind of a crazy night.
It was.
But the friendships that were made and forged, it was really awesome. And so when we started talking about having this podcast and doing all this other kind of stuff, your name was one that I just kept bringing up. I got to get Josh on. I got to get Josh on.
I appreciate it.
And some
man. It
other
means a
people
lot.
who were there as well. It was just kind of nuts. And I think back, wow, it's only been 3 years, but it feels like it's been longer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had an instant affinity for the Cornfield Collective, as I dubbed you guys. And
Yeah.
like, it was, I'm from Kansas City. So like you guys feel a little bit more like people I grew up around
Sure.
than people in Ohio. So I vibed instantly with you guys. And then also like, you stand out in a room, man. You're like a giant.
Yeah, I am
so,
tall.
like, yeah, as somebody who's taller than me, you got my attention right away because most people aren't taller than me.
Right.
So I was just like, I don't know, just instantly drawn to you guys. And then when you guys were up there, you knew Chris. Oh no, wait, didn't we meet when I played Wiley's?
Oh, yeah.
That's where we met for the first
That's where
time was
we
when I played
officially met.
Wiley's. Yeah.
Yes. Good call.
And then I saw you again at Midwest.
Yeah.
later. Yeah.
I had driven out to South Dakota to show Chris the Evox 12s. I
Yeah.
came out and we were doing that speaker thing the next day. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
And
smart.
I was like, I met somebody else that night, and I was like, it was Kyle.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, good call. And then we went to, what was the
Frying pan.
the frying pan? There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Night 2 for us. Yeah. Cause we'd already done Wiley's one night before you got there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was, Zach Williams and I were playing, and, he met a girl who, worked at a strip club, and they became, drunk best friends. And so, her and her friend were with us, and that was a really interesting night.
That
Basically
seems
got a
quite
TED talk on the art of stripping and how to make money at it. So like if I need another career, I could now go into that.
You're ready to go.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
good.
Yeah.
I might want to talk to the wife before you get the LLC license for that one, though.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a good call. That's a good call.
Yeah.
But
Hey, thanks.
desperation.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah.
So when did you start shopping at NLFX?
I think I got peer pressured into it. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even know, Kyle.
Okay.
I think I started to discover NLFX like when I was going to Mobile Beat. I remember I listened to the Evolve 50s for the first time at a booth at your booth there, and I think I started to meet Kat and have more interactions with Kat during Midwest and some marquee shows, and like the cumulative effect of that, and then also getting on the board for Midwest, understanding how much NLFX pours back into the DJ community, and just my conversations with Ben. Ben actually ran sound for a group called Phillips, Craig and Dean, which was my dad's favorite like musical group when I
Okay.
was growing up. So like we listened to their albums all the time. So when Ben and I connected on that, because I'd been to some of their shows and I'm pretty sure he was there, but I was too young to know who he was,
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, like just whoa, Phillips Craig and Dean? You know Phillips Craig and Dean? Like, that was
Yeah.
kind of they were like the Christian Crosby, Stills and Nash, basically.
Okay.
And so we connected on that, and just through all that, like I realized again how much NLFX gives back to the industry and supports what we do. And again, like Ben says, like if it's the difference of a few bucks, like why wouldn't I just support people who are supporting us?
Oh,
And so it was kind of a long journey to that point, because I used to be the deal guy. I used to like, okay, I gotta find the cheapest price.
yeah. Oh, we all were.
Yeah, but I feel like, and I've said this on the Midwest podcast, I feel like now that I'm not an elder statesman in our industry yet, but like now that I'm an established company, we're making good money doing this. Like I want to support the people who support us
Sure.
and like who make the industry better. Like I don't need to find the cheapest price. You guys aren't expensive by any means, and usually you are the cheapest price. But like if Amazon has it for a couple bucks cheaper, like I'm buying it from NLFX.
Yeah. And we appreciate that. And, that is a big thing for what we want to do is we want to make sure that we support the people who support us. And
Yeah.
so doing stuff like Midwest and Marquee and all those sort of shows, DJX coming up, a lot of people buy stuff from us. And so we want to be there and not just show the stuff that we have, but be there to make sure that these things still continue to happen. Make sure the Midwest still happens, because they're great places for us to go, and meet people like you. Like I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I think about all the people that I wouldn't know if I hadn't gone to these shows. Well, if there weren't vendors like NLFX who are willing to dish out money to go, then there wouldn't be them. So
Right. Or if there was, it would be significantly more expensive.
yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, sponsors are cover a big part of the ticket cost for what we have to pay to get attendees there.
Yep.
I mean, basically the model for you guys who want to know, like basically the tickets that we sell you are our cost, and then
Yep.
the money we make that we Midwest is a non-for-profit. The money we make from the sponsorships is what allows us to put on the show, and then put a little bit of money in the bank for like future years and doing cooler
future
stuff.
shows and helping DJs and all that.
Right. I mean, there's nobody making money off Midwest,
Nope.
so just
No,
the way
that's
it is.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, I had a wonderful time. I hope you did too. Can you give everybody a shout out? If you guys have an Instagram, make sure to give them your plug, because I follow both you and Josh Staley Productions on Instagram.
Thank
You
you.
guys are always posting awesome videos and stuff on there. So if you want to give some shout outs or where people can find you.
Yeah, just Instagram, DJ_Josh Staley, Staley. Like Kyle said, we have our main company page, which is Josh Staley Productions, and then Turn Up Columbus. And then all of our DJs put out really solid content too. So if you want to follow some great DJs who you may not have heard of, just go down the Josh Staley Productions posts and you'll see our DJs tagged in it. But I mean, we have a really solid team that is doing some amazing stuff. Like our goal is to push the bar here locally in Columbus, but also industry wide. And we're not the only ones doing it, but we are doing it, and we'd love to inspire people. And we'd also love your ideas and your feedback. If you see something we could do better, we'd love to hear about it. But connect with me there. I'm an open book. I'd love to answer any questions, help with anything I can help with, or just, if you see something I could do better, I'm always up for it. I'm not somebody who is above taking feedback. So
No, for sure. And also make sure to check out his podcast. He does one for Midwest DJs.
yeah, Midwest DJs Live. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We're kind of taking a break at the moment. We're going to launch the new season coming up here at the end of August, and then we're going to take that all the way through the show. So,
Awesome.
Best educators in the business will be on that podcast, dropping nuggets for the DJ industry. So check
All
it out.
sorts of knowledge. They were kind enough to have me on at one time too. So
Yeah, Kyle's episode is amazing. We have an episode with Ben, and then also, Mitch Taylor's my co-host. So come listen to
Great
him. He's
guy.
way smarter than me.
Great
Yeah.
guy. Yeah. So if I can be on there, everybody has hope. So, all right. Thank you so much, Josh,
You were
for being
great.
here.
I
We
felt bad,
appreciate
man,
it.
because you had Matt as my co-host that day. So he was grilling you hardcore.
He what? He doesn't. Matt Redicelli goes hard, which is
Yeah.
good. That's what you want. He's not afraid to ask the tough question.
He is not. He's not. Well, Kyle, thank you so much. Shout out to NLFX. Thank you for everything that you do for our industry. And it was an honor to be here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Josh. We'll talk to everybody later. Take care.